Okay guys, so barbell hip thrusts. One of my favourite all-time exercises for isolating hip extension and developing strength within the glutes. It's a favourite amongst people that are trying to improve hypertrophy of the glutes, but it does have a huge carryover to all squatting and hinge pattern exercises. So you want to start on the floor with your upper back being supported by a box or a bench. I recommend for people to position themselves around mid-back on the surface that you're resting on, and whatever height of object is most comfortable for you is the best one to go for. But again, around mid-back tends to prevent a lumbar hyperextension, which I'll talk about in a moment. You're going to start with your legs out straight and roll a bar onto your hips. You'll always need a pad for this, whether it's a rolled up yoga mat, whether it's a specific hip thrusting pad, doesn't matter, but you'll need a pad on the bar in order to cushion the hip bones. From here, grasp hold of the bar and bend your legs to approximately 90 degrees with your feet around the same position as you would either squat or deadlift in. This is purely to get a little bit more carryover. Some people find that they need to go a little bit wider to feel it within their glutes to get the abduction at the hip joint, but the idea is to gain as much transfer over to the heavier compound lifts as we can. So feet hip to shoulder width apart tends to suffice for most people. A slight bit of rotation at the feet, making sure that the big toe is pressed down. Okay, so you want the 3 points of support within your foot, but especially with your big toe down, because a lot of people will pronate or roll over on their ankles. From here, keep your abs braced and intentionally tuck your pelvis under. One of the functions of the glutes is to create a little bit of posterior pelvic tilt during hip extension, and within this exercise, one of the biggest benefits of the barbell hip thrust is there's limited what's called axial loading. So there's virtually no loading on the spine, which means when we put our pelvis into this position, it won't necessarily create any stress within the lower back. In fact, doing it the opposite way with a lot of hyperextension is more likely to cause lower back issues. So cueing a tuck under of the pelvis and keeping your abs braced will actually remedy that. I also recommend people to tuck their chin down as well. This just prevents extension through the lower back. So we see a lot of the time when people drive their hips up to the ceiling, because they're focused on everything that's going on, supporting themselves across the shoulders, and they position their head in kind of an extended posture resting on the box, that they then just take the lower back through a series of hyperextension into flexion, hyperextension into flexion. So keeping your chin tucked down and your pelvis tucked under just helps to create a bit more rigidity in the spine. And then from here, pressing through your heels, I want you to extend at the hips, driving the bar up to the ceiling. A good cue that I tend to say to people is to imagine scooping the bar off the floor to make sure that we're getting that extension through the glutes. Pause in the top position for 1 to 2 seconds and make sure that you're feeling the contraction in your glutes. Within this exercise, you'll find pretty much straight away that you can move a lot of weight from A to B. However, it's down to a series of different factors, such as the fact that the bar doesn't have to travel very far, and like I said, there's very limited spinal stability or spinal loading. So that doesn't mean that you go heavy straight away. I want you to focus on developing the contraction within your glutes. Slowly lower the bar to the start position and repeat.